All right, welcome back to the Onebar and Lupagus show on Onebar with Lupagus. It's time for SKOL'ing with the enemies. Vikings, Jaguar. We're going to our main man for the Jags, UCF Jaguars. I mean, your channel, almost 20,000.
Wow.
19.45.
I'm getting there, man. I'm getting there. I'm almost there, but it'd be nice if the Jaguars had kind of a winning record so I can bring in some of the bandwagoners. But right now, it's just the diehards on my channel right now. So we're just trying to pump out this content. 8 games left and a season where we're playing meaningless football in November and December.
Well, links will be down in the description, but I got to hand it to you. Like, it's not like I watched your videos. It's not like you sugarcoat things. You kind of just say it how it is, basically. I mean, even the one I was watching today, you're like, look, we're not going to go on an 8-game rip. Even if we go 4-4, like the season's over, you're looking towards the future. So check them out. Give them a sub. Let's get them over 20,000. Do it. Yeah. But let's get into it. And I just want to know kind of the lay of the land. Like, what's the rundown on the current status and direction of the Jaguars? Not so much for this season. I mean, at 2-7, but like, where are you sitting like next season and the next season on? Is there still hope for the Jaguars that they can turn this around?
I mean, obviously not this year. We're 2-7, so we're out of it. I mean, we all had the hope that, look, like next year we clean house. I mean, get rid of Doug Peterson isn't obvious. And I know a lot of Jaguar fans are concerned about maybe the Jaguars don't get rid of Trent Baalke because, Shad Khan just has this, really interesting relationship with him. But, Doug Peterson's gone and Shad Khan's looking at the next head coach. You're not going to get any good candidate to come in with him. And also, it's pretty unprecedented that a GM can go on his third head coach in their tenure as a GM. So, next year, like, it feels like we have pieces, Trevor Lawrence, I believe in him, and a lot of Jaguar fans do believe in him, and he is statistically very good in a lot of categories. It's just he doesn't get much help out here, man. I mean, the coaching is just pretty bad. Just all these pre-snap penalties and real question marks about like usage. Like last week, for example, you have both Christian Kirk and Gabe Davis out of the game. And, you figure Brian Thomas Jr. is going to be a big part of the game plan. 4 targets and 2 receptions. And it's just the coaching is pretty miserable. And, obviously we have some pieces, right? Trevor Lawrence, you have, a wide receiver 1 in Brian Thomas Jr. You have a really, really good cornerback in Tyson Campbell. I may not say lockdown, but man, when he's healthy, he is a very good cornerback. You have edge rushers and Josh Hines-Allen and Trayvon Walker. I mean, you have a good amount of pieces on this team. So, obviously, you might end up with a top 5 draft pick. So I think it's an attractive spot. And, of course, everybody's out there. I don't know who's going to go through a head coach vacancy that isn't going to want Ben Johnson. Obviously, it feels like, he's that top dude. Then there's a gap, and then there's the rest of them. So I know a lot of us are optimistic that maybe we can get him because obviously Jared Goff is a very similar quarterback to Trevor Lawrence, and that offense is all kinds of creative. So I mean, for me, there's optimism, but sometimes you really have to bottom out to really go forward. I know you guys had so many years of like Mike Zimmer, where it's like, okay, like he's a good coach, maybe not great, but sometimes you just need to have a really bad year to really improve. And I think Kevin O'Connell's been a big improvement for you guys. That's kind of what we're hoping for. I mean, I don't think Doug Peterson's a terrible head coach, but it really feels like he's just checked out right now. So it's an unfortunate situation right now. We're out of it. So right now we're just kind of buying our time until we can really get into the off season where we can really start to make improvements for this organization.
Nice. So it sounds like Mac Jones is going to start. I mean, it's not for sure yet. Any chance Trevor Lawrence makes like a shocking, like, oh my God, he's going to start? And also, if Mac Jones does start, what do you think he's going to do against this Vikings team?
Well, I mean, last year Trevor Lawrence at the end of the season was playing through all kinds of injuries. He was out there just going through it, and I mean, he's practicing and everything, but the difference between this year and last year he was injured and we were 8-3. This year we're injured and he's 2-7 and we're 2-7. So it's like there might be a situation where, hey, maybe he just opts for surgery and just sits out the rest of the year. I mean, I really don't see the coaching staff isn't helping him out. I don't. It's not like he's a rookie where it's like, okay, he needs reps. He needs to come out here. Like, I don't think he can really get that much better right now. If anything, I think he can only get worse. So I don't know. It's up to Trevor. Does he want to tough through it, play through injury, and just play for, passion or pride or whatever it is? Or, do you want to opt for a surgery and just kind of rest, kind of like how I think what's going on with maybe Dak right now is just, sit down and just opt for the surgery and just sit down. So with Mac Jones come in, I mean, Mac Jones, we've all seen him as a quarterback in the NFL. I mean, he was a first-round pick in a pretty bad situation for the Patriots, and obviously the Jaguars traded like a 5th or a 6th round pick for him. He had a really good preseason, but in his limited action, I mean, he hasn't been great. But if they put in a game plan for him, I mean, I think you can find some lightning in a bottle. There's definitely a lot of upside there, but at the same time, I think there's plenty of downside too. So I think, you maybe a top 25 quarterback or something like that. I'm not expecting him to light the world on fire, but I mean, he has a potential to go out there and maybe surprise some people, but I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, if we bring him in, we go 6-2 and maybe we make a move at the playoffs. Like, it's just, he is what he is.
So what is Lawrence's actual injury? I keep hearing upper body. Like, what is it specifically? You keep
it's
mentioning
like some kind of injury to his non-throwing shoulder is what it is.
Okay.
All right, Trevor Lawrence. I got to stick on him for a little bit longer. Is it sounds like, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. It sounds like some people are all in on him. Some people are just kind of just done with him. Like, is it more like the talent is there, or is it more just a wishful thinking as far as where he was drafted and all and everything he has to offer? Like, when I watch him, like, I think he's a damn good quarterback. But like, as far as just Jaguars fans in general, like, where does everybody kind of stand with him? I mean, he is the future.
Yeah, I mean, when your team is 2-7, you're just gonna point the finger everywhere. You know what I mean? I mean, there's not anybody that's not to blame. So, I think it's all like top down. I mean, honestly, Trevor Lawrence, like, he started out the season a little bit rough, and then now that the offensive line started protecting him a little bit more, he's been able to make a lot of plays. But there's just not a lot. I mean, we rarely ever have a 100-yard rusher. I don't think last game we cracked like 50 rushing yards. So run game doesn't really help him out too much. Like, receivers, there are a decent amount of drops for him. I just think the overall thing is that the offensive game plan just always seems to suck. You know what I mean? There's just no cohesion. There was one person that had a pretty good tweet. It's almost like the Jaguars are like an AAU basketball team where it's like they have a ton of talent, but it's like they go out there on the weekends and it's like they haven't played with each other before. There's just not a lot of good like playing togetherness and just not a lot of good. And we've seen some good stuff out of Trevor Lawrence. And honestly, I think he elevates the offense a lot. It's just like sometimes players just don't make plays. And, a lot of times our defense right now is a complete mess with a defensive coordinator that just does mass substitutions. I mean, you don't have, like, usually when you have you have your weak side linebacker, you have your middle linebacker, you have some of your star players out there every play. I mean, this guy does like mass substitution, bring out 7 people, put 7 people in. Like, it's crazy what this guy does. And defense, they never help us out. And it's just, when you, at the end of the day, when you look at everything, there's like 1 or 2 players that have improved from last year and everybody else is regressing. When that happens, you kind of look straight at coaching. And right now, Doug's a dead man walking. I think he's kind of given up, and I don't know. We're just we still have 8 games left. We just had to painfully get through the rest of it.
Is Doug going to make it through the season?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think,
Damn it, Doug.
I think, we have obviously you guys this weekend, and then we have the Detroit Lions next weekend, and then we have a bye week. So, there's a very good chance that, like, I mean, I think if he gets blown out against Minnesota, I think it's in Jacksonville. I think they maybe fire him there. And then if they play Detroit next weekend and get completely blown out or even lose, even if they go on a 2-game losing streak, bye week, you make the move. I don't know who would be the interim head coach. I mean, Mike McCoy is the quarterback coach, maybe him. I don't know, maybe who knows? Who really knows? But I think,
is it safe to say nobody on your coaching staff is the next man up? Like, if Doug goes, it's like everybody get the hell out of here.
No, there's not I know when the Jaguars fired Gus Bradley, Doug Marrone was on the staff. And he did some good things when he came back, and then they just kind of elevated him, which I also don't think the Jaguars were a very attractive landing spot. It's like, what do you want to do? You have Blake Bortles as your quarterback. We're sticking with him. The GM loves him. And, like, it's different with the Jaguars now. Like, you have a lot of people that are really going to you have all these openings, dude, and you have a quarterback in Trevor Lawrence where it's like, yo, like a bunch of these NFL guys probably had really good grades on him. A bunch of people will be like, hey, man, this is a pretty good spot to go into. I can fix this guy. And especially with these NFL guys with their egos, they can say, I can go in there and make the offense have a lot of cohesion and then really push this team forward. Because, man, it just right now it feels like we're completely wasting him. At least for me, I feel like we're completely wasting him. You put him in a different offense and, almost like when Matthew Stafford went over to the Rams and then won a Super Bowl his first year. It's like I could so see Trevor Lawrence going to an actual functioning organization that is not the Jaguars and having all kinds of success, because right now you have to get over the organizational stink that is the Jacksonville Jaguars, and it's hard for just one guy to overcome that.
All right, so about a week ago, the Vikings traded for Cam Robinson, your former left tackle. I want to get your thoughts on Cam and what we expect from him in the future.
Yeah, he's always been pretty inconsistent. I mean, he's been with the Jaguars since 2017. The main thing that he deals with is he's always either injured or he's had his PED suspensions. He just hasn't been a very available player. And honestly, for me, he's just a very, very average left tackle. He's not bad. He's not going to go to any Pro Bowls. He's just a solid guy there. He's just very, very average. So I didn't want to trade him just because he is an unrestricted free agent, and I was all about put in everything you can. I don't want to trade away offensive linemen. I don't want to hurt our franchise quarterback. Keep your offensive linemen. So there's that. And I was a guy, I wanted to trade Christian Kirk until he broke his collarbone because he has a $15 million dead cap hit next year. And the Jaguars didn't get a lot of return when it comes. I think it can only go up to a fourth or a fifth round pick. I think only a fifth round pick for Cam Robinson. Not great compensation. I was saying, look, teams are desperate for left tackles and offensive linemen during free agency. I thought there was a very good chance that you could have maybe gotten a better compensatory pick for him as opposed to just trading him. But he got benched, and then I think he was basically throwing a hissy fit on the sidelines. So then he kind of forced the Jaguars' hand where they had to trade him. So, but I will say he's been with the Jaguars since 2017. He's definitely served his time for this team, and I'm not super mad for him as a player to send him out to a team that looks to be on their way to the playoffs this year.
Do you think he has any chance of playing inside, or is he strictly a tackle?
He's only left tackle. He refuses to play any other position, and he's only played left tackle for the Jaguars. He only played left tackle at Alabama. He's left tackle, and you don't want to teach an old dog new tricks. Unless he wants to really stretch out his career and a team's in a bind for a left guard. Maybe he wants to take some money, but yeah, if he's a free agent next year, he's not gonna take anywhere that's not gonna be a left tackle.
Well, the Jaguars definitely have some draft capital courtesy of the Minnesota Vikings over the next couple of years. I mean, how are you guys looking? I mean, between Cam and the Turner trade, I mean, how are you guys looking as far as draft capital and cap space in the coming years? I mean, is there hope?
Well, I mean, we're gonna have a pretty good pick this year, probably. Especially if Mac Jones starts to play. I'm like, man, maybe I want to start losing, because it might be cool to have that number one overall pick, and when you're trying to hire a GM, and then you can trade back and get all kinds of stuff. Especially that number one pick is very about this isn't a huge quarterback class, but even if there's one really good quarterback, that makes that number one pick way more attractive. I don't think that we'll get it because we're playing the Titans still. We have another game against the Colts. We have the Jets and Raiders. We have a pretty soft spot of the schedule, but yeah, I was really hoping. I was like, man, this is a great trade with the Vikings. They're out here going to start Sam Darnold. They're going to suck. But yeah, you guys have been pretty good, and we're
you sound like your head coach.
Definitely, yeah, definitely making that third round pick a lot worse for us. But I think we're fine. I think we have the talent. I think we just need some tweaks, man. I think we need to tweak some stuff here and there. And like I said, we have the quarterback. We have a wide receiver one. You have some edge rushers. You have a really good cornerback. I mean, you have a lot. You have a decent amount of building blocks on this team. It's just trim some of the fat. Let's draft well, and obviously way easier said than done. But there's definitely a pathway where in 2025 the Jaguars can be a really good football team.
Nice.
All right, we got UCF Jaguar links down in the description. Couple more quickies for you. Defensively, I know the Vikings fans coming into this seeing the Jaguars at 2-7, Mac Jones, but Vikings have been kind of up and down. I mean, they like to lay down to their competition. But on defense, the side of the ball, what's the biggest liability that either Jefferson, maybe it's Aaron Jones, like where can the Vikings take advantage on that defense?
God, I mean, Ronald Darby, talk about father time catching up to him. I mean, he just can't keep up. I mean, and when you hit a certain age, you lose a lot of speed, and that's what Darby is. I mean, the Eagles were just picking him apart, and he's had all kinds of games where like couldn't keep up, so he has to hold somebody. I mean, Ronald Darby is just pretty bad. But in our safety group is not good either. Our secondary, just a lot of coverage busts, and the defense right now, I mean, we have some games where you get some pressures, but there hasn't really been a true feature player. And, it's a lot about the defensive coordinator just not being a very good DC hire. Last year, Josh Hines Allen had like 16, 17, 18 sacks or something like that. I think he only has like 4 this year. It's just, nobody, like I said earlier, nobody really elevating. That's especially true on the defense. I don't think anybody outside of maybe a Trayvon Walker has actually improved from last year to this year. So, if you guys play a solid game, if you guys can just execute, you guys should be able to move the ball very well against the Jaguars.
I like it. So I've been watching a lot of Jacksonville Jaguars, Minnesota Vikings previews. You guys' turf keeps coming up as an issue. Is your turf actually is it bad? Is there something wrong with it? What's going on there? And why is it keep getting brought up?
I mean, our turf is fine. We won't have turf. We have natural grass.
Yeah.
So. Happy Lupagus?
No, I was like, what the hell? Perfect. Why is this an issue?
I mean, I haven't seen it be an issue. Right. I mean, we don't have.
You made
turf.
it up.
We have grass.
No, the Vikings beat reporters were asking the team about the turf, and I'm like, is it bad?
Yeah, we don't have. I don't know. We don't have turf. We have a nice natural grass. We're down here in Florida, man. We can grow it down here.
Beautiful green grass.
Yeah, well, I mean, use turf as a general term, but yeah, they kept asking players about it. I was like, okay, I didn't know it was an issue. But
yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's been some rainy games, but yeah, it's not. I don't know. There hasn't been any kind of talking point over here.
Okay.
So.
Well, the turf is good. Let us ask you about a former Viking, Ezra Cleveland. You guys, how's he doing over there, man? We kind of miss him.
He's last year he came in and got hurt immediately, and this year he's been really good. And then he got hurt, and then
Ezra.
And then he got hurt last week, or then the backup got hurt last week. So we're down to a third string guy. But yeah, he was one of our best offensive linemen this year. Then he got hurt. So Jaguars and Vikings, we like to make trades. That's for sure. There's a lot of trades between the two.
There's gonna be a pipeline going there between these two teams.
But hey, it was a good trade for us in the first round, man. We moved back 6 spots and we were able to grab Brian Thomas Jr. That was really nice. I guess I don't know how Dallas Turner's doing, but I know we've definitely come up pretty good from it.
No, that was a good one. Lupagus has one more for you. Before we do that, we had a live right before this. We were asking everybody, Vikings fans, for their favorite Jaguar of all time. A lot of Keenan McCardles, a lot of Maurice Jones-Drew, some Fred Taylors, Mark Brunell, Tony Baselli. Who's your guy?
Favorite all-time Jaguar?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be the best, just like your personal favorite.
Well, I'll tell you too. I really do like Fred Taylor, very, very classic Jaguar player. The one guy that's a little bit different would be Blake Bortles. Nice. I was a sophomore at UCF when we drafted Blake Bortles, and he led us to an AFC championship, and he's just an overall cool dude. It's just like the most Florida man you guys can imagine. It just felt like a lot of these football players I don't feel like I can really have a lot in common with, but man, he is just a man of the people. Very chill dude. I don't know if you see him on Pardon My Take at all, but he's just he's a funny guy, very relatable, and he's nice dude too. He's cool as hell. So Blake Bortles, while may not have had the best NFL career, he was always a soft spot for me with Blake.
Now that is a fantastic answer. Very underrated. I remember having him in fantasy his second, third, whatever year it was. That
dude one year he blew up.
Get up that one year.
Yeah.
I mean,
he was
always
30+ touchdowns.
Yeah, he was. I mean, 1 year he had an insane amount of touchdowns. He was always. I mean, Jaguars were always in garbage time, and he could run the ball too. And he was I don't think fantasy people, they never wanted to rank him high just because, like, obviously you want to put the top guys out there. And Blake Bortles just seemed like such a dumpy quarterback to do. But man, he would get some points, man. And it was definitely a lot of fun.
37 touchdowns in 2015 between rushing and passing. Blake Bortles.
And I think Allen Robinson had like 15 touchdowns that year too, like 1,400 yards. I thought Allen Robinson was going to be so good, but yeah, just
glory day. All right, so how do you see this one shaking out on Sunday?
Oh, God, I can't pick the Jaguars to beat the Vikings. I think the Jaguars may be able to keep it close. I mean, at some point, like, we've been able to really fight with these teams. We fought with the Eagles, had the ball last drive with a chance to win, against the Packers. We drove down the field, cut the lead to 3, but we never got the ball back after that. I mean, we've been fighting with some good teams, but at some point, man, I feel like you can only fight for so long enough. At some point, the straw kind of breaks. And, at that moment, I think is when Doug's going to get fired. So I do think that the Jaguars, they have the ability to keep it close. I don't know if it's going to be like a 3-point loss or 6-point loss or whatever, but I'll say the Jaguars maybe lose by 6, but I could definitely see this being a complete blowout. And maybe that's going to give Doug Peterson the go away slip.
All right, there you have it. UCF Jaguar. We know you got another show to hop on, man. We appreciate you hopping on and give us some time. Again, links down in the description. Almost at 20K. Well done, sir. We appreciate you.
Hey, appreciate it, guys. Go Jags.